Welcome to A Walk Down Memory Lane. It's a show where we rewind the clock and relive the greatest moments in local sport. From cup match classics to title-winning seasons, you played it, we remember it. Welcome back to the legends, the players, and the stories that shaped our sporting history. That's right, get comfortable because it's time to settle in and share a few laughs. This is A Walk Down Memory Lane. Now let's turn the page with your hosts, Earl Baisden and Dennis Brown.
Well, good evening and welcome to this edition of A Walk Down Memory Lane. I'm your host, Earl Baisden. Joining me as co-host, Dennis Brown. And we're about to enter with Dean. He's having a bit of trouble right now. But remember, the one man.
You're breaking
take
up.
us through your challenges.
Oh, you're breaking up.
Oh, you're breaking up. You guys can hear me?
I can hear you, Dennis.
I hear you.
Yeah, you guys, you're breaking up, Earl.
We've lost him by the looks of it.
You lost, yeah.
Earl. Lost Earl.
Okay, he went out and he's coming back in. Okay, so I'll ask you first question, being Earl's not here yet. Each of you guys, when you first met Jimmy, what stood out to you about him as a person when you first met Jimmy? Anybody?
Okay, I'm transitioning to my laptop, so I'll let you guys go first because
Okay.
I was probably the first one to meet him. So.
Okay, so what stood out about him as a person when you first met Jimmy?
I'll start. So Jimmy was a happy-go-lucky guy. He was one that was committed to anything that he was involved in. But he was also one who was keen to share his experiences and help to bring along those that were coming behind him. And so if I gave you a personal example, I was probably 16 years old when I met Jimmy. That's when I was introduced to the senior team at Devonshire Colts. This would have been a year that you would remember vividly, Dennis, because that would have been the 87-88 year, where Devonshire Colts were in the second division and made it to the FA Cup final. I had the pleasure of being in and around the team at that time. I was on the bench for a couple of matches leading up to that period. And Jimmy, boys in the background of this pause. Yeah, so Jimmy would have given me a lot of guidance as a youngster, young 16-year-old breaking into the team, and it was always willing to share his knowledge, not just from a footballing perspective, but from using the lens of growing up in a country where we strove to achieve our goals. So, he was someone that I did look up to from an early age.
Can you let us know who you played in that FA Cup final? I can't remember.
I will never forget 1988. what a game that was, right? Devonshire Colts.
Two good games.
Devonshire Colts, the second division champions at that time. First division was the top tier, second division was the next tier. Devonshire Colts put their undefeated record on the line by taking on a mighty Somerset Trojans and took them to the brink.
To a replay,
0-0 in the first game after extra time and lost 2-1 in the 120 plus a minute in the second match.
Good memories.
And in fact, since we touched upon that game, I'll give you probably one of my most vivid footballing moments involving Jimmy. in that, as I said, around the team as a youngster, seeing him in training, obviously he was the best at everything, right? So even trying to convince others that he could probably take a free kick better than Craig Smith, which in a football setup, whether it be training or game, I hadn't really never seen Jimmy even strike a ball, right? He was a right back, so probably obviously didn't get many opportunities. But one of my most vivid memories, since you brought up that match, was probably, I don't know if it was the second half or second period of extra time. I just remember Colts were attacking the goal away from the Garden, so it was definitely the second period because Lorenzo won all of the tosses and chose to shoot that way second half. And Colts had a corner. And as the ball came across, it was partially cleared, and Dennis as a sweeper, as you would ordinarily do, because it was partially cleared, you called the team to attack the ball. So you want to get strikers away from your goalkeeper and get players to block a shot. And the ball landed to Tweed, and it was deep in the second half. And Tweed laced this thing as if Smith took the shot. With Gomzi stranded and Dennis having pushed his team out, there was no reason for Pumpkin to still be on the line.
I remember
He should have pushed that. I don't know if he was tired. I don't know if he lost focus, but there was absolutely no reason for Pumpkin to be on the line. So Tweed shot. Gomzi well beaten, and here is Pumpkin on the line to head the ball to line. That's the winning goal. And that's Colts, a second division team want to highlight Jimmy Tweed, makes history with Colts, and Dennis would have been talking about who won that match. No.
Yeah. Dennis, I want to bring in Stanford.
Go ahead, Stan.
If you can, go ahead. You could ask him.
Stan?
I'm trying to unmute him.
I remember Jimmy.
Go ahead. Stan, can you hear us?
He's talking, but we can't hear him.
Going back on mute for some reason.
Okay, Stan, go ahead.
I'm trying to unmute, but
okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
I'm good now. I remember Jimmy from primary school scenario. We didn't go to the same school, but we were in the same neighborhood. He was from Frizzles Hill, I was from Parsons Road, and as you know, back in the day, we used to roam around looking for kicks, and the kicks used to take place up on the Frizzles Hill side, next to the former Bermuda Tactical Institute. There was a cricket pitch there, and we used to play football in the neighborhood there. And that's where I became familiar with James Tweed, a very, very fun-loving guy, gregarious, but loved to have fun playing that game. And basically, he taught me that there was a need to be experiencing fun while you were having this game that you wanted to play so passionately. And we carried that going forward into our adult life, and I reconnected with him when I came back home. And I just loved talking to him about football. There were some of the mantras and themes that he used to put out called, was I think 3 or 5 P's. Prior preparation prevents poor performance. But Jimmy transitioned that for me into prior preparation prepares you for a premier performance. I try to pass that on now today to players that say you got to actually prepare to have a very, very good performance in the Premier Division. Hopefully that's taking root in the current generation that we are now trying to mentor to have fun playing this game.
Jeffrey?
So for me, that's Jimmy. Every time I think about it, I think of it in those terms.
All right, Jeff.
So, when it comes to Jimmy Tweed, I go back way further than most people on this call. I met Jimmy at Barclay Institute in 1971. I went to the Barclay from West Pembroke in 1970. And Jimmy was at Salters at the time because he was a very smart individual. I think the reason why he came to Barclay, because I think Salters transitioned to a private school. So he came to the Barclay Institute soon after. And I was a very shy individual at the time. So Jimmy was that guy so I was the guy that you didn't know was in the room. And Jimmy was that guy who you heard coming to this room.
Yeah.
So we go, that's where he and I became friends at Barclay. And I don't know how it happened. It was just natural. We were opposite in the fact that I was very shy and he was very outgoing. And he was a North Village fan. So for him and I to become so close, because we played football for Barclay, it was strange, and it was a natural thing to just happen. And before you knew it, we were graduating from Barclay, and we both decided to go to Hotel College together. Hotel College didn't have a football program or anything like that, but it wasn't even about sport at the time. But I was entrenched in Devonshire Colts because I never played junior football for Devonshire Colts. I went from Bantam straight to the first team. From the time I turned 16, I was playing football. I was playing my first division football for Colts. And Jimmy somehow got lost at North Village. He was part of the junior program, and he never really made it into the first team. You know, he may have had appearance here and appearance there, but he wasn't playing much football at all. So I went over to university at 17. The only reason I was able to go so young is because I was turning 18 in October of the same year. And Devonshire Colts want me back for I think it was friendship final. It was the very first friendship final. It was the 2-leg final. And
Friendship or Dudley?
No, sorry, you're right. Dudley final, you're right. Dudley final. The first leg was at BAA, and the second leg was at PHC. And I recalled, and we won the match at BAA. And well, anyway, we won the 2-leg final. And I remember at the end of the game at PHC, Jimmy was leaning on the fence at PHC. Because Shannon would tell you, and Dennis, you would know back then, changing rooms were a lot different than they are today.
For sure.
Yeah, there were coolest in the change room after a match. And you would sit there in your jockstrap and just reminiscing and enjoying the game. And I remember coming outside and seeing Jimmy leaning on the fence, looking into darkness, saying, "I'm coming to play for Colts." Seriously, and he was a Colt ever since. And to be fair, he was as loyal as a Colt as you would ever meet. It blew my mind how much that boy loved Devonshire Colts. And Shannon would tell you, we used to pick him up to take him to matches. Shannon was just a little boy. Him and J. Bean and Ray Jones, they were kids, man, and we were picking them up, and they were experiencing the Colts vibe back there, right, Shannon?
Oh, you said the year you started high school. I wasn't even born yet. So that puts it in perspective. But that year you won the Dudley. Who did you play against?
I think you saw us in that. Oh, you mean Village?
No, we played Village. It was 2-leg final. The first leg was at BA, and the second leg was at PHC.
Okay. Did you score in that game?
I did.
At PHC?
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure you scored against Ohio. I'm pretty sure I was there as a youngster.
No, it was against Village. We played Village that day. It was Village in the final that year.
I have to check the records too.
Yeah. It was definitely North Village. Because I remember going away to school and getting that training before breakfast, before lunch, before dinner, and coming back and just I was going past Willie Baxter like he was standing still. I was at just a different level than everyone else. So I thought I was fit when I went over. When I came back, it was huge. It blew my mind. It absolutely blew my mind.
Yeah.
And Jimmy, he
Dennis,
was my biggest fan, man. Go ahead, Earl.
Yeah. No, I was saying, Dennis, we're joined by Royden, just to let you know. See.
Yes, good evening,
Yes,
gentlemen.
and I'll just let you guys know Royden's my cousin, right? But we just laughed. We just laughed the other day. We're no cousins when we went across that white line. No cousins there, man.
Definitely learned something today.
Absolutely.
So Dennis, every okay, go ahead. So Dennis, every time we play a Somerset, right? So as small as I was, I used to jump really well, and Dennis Coast targeted me for corners.
Yep.
And Dennis will tell you, we'd be looking at each other, and he'll look at me and says, "You're not gonna win this one, B."
Yeah, we used to have battles. And I think we used to have bets to see who wins the most house and all that.
That's right. That was, Jimmy was my biggest fan. He was my biggest fan. If I had any doubts on my ability, or he was like, "No, man, you're the best, man. You're the best." And he used to remind me, "I'm here at Colts because of you."
Yeah, and you reminded me a lot of Lance, right? Because Lance was short as well. But I think Lance was shorter than you, but
he was.
Both of you.
That was an argument we had.
Both of you are very good in the air. You know what I mean? Couldn't take it for granted in the air. Unreal.
Yeah.
And he and I were in school at the same time. So when I went to school at 17, Lance was part of their team as well.
Right.
South Carolina.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Roy, the question was, your first memory of basically when you met Jimmy at Devonshire Colts. What was one of your first memories?
Well, I knew Jimmy before I joined Colts. Jimmy's mama and my Aunt June were close friends.
Okay.
So I already knew Jimmy. What I do remember when I joined Colts, Jimmy sort of like invited me. You know, I knew Jimmy. I knew Earl Woods was playing for Colts at the time. But Jimmy sort of like took me in. You know, he basically said to me, "You can make this team," you know, because I doubted myself. I'm moving to a new team from Boulevard, and I didn't know a whole lot of guys over there. But Jimmy told me, "You can make the team." That's one thing I remember. He encouraged me.
Somebody's got something on in the background there.
Yeah, something.
Europa League knockout round playoff. They fell 4-1 from the first leg.
Somebody's got a TV on.
Somebody's got something.
It's definitely a TV.
Okay, hold on.
All right.
So I just put out the record about Jeff's story and Woods Village. I wasn't at that game, but
Yeah, I'm looking at it now myself.
Next time, the game I was remembering was actually against in 82-83.
Yes.
I
1-0.
Yeah.
I remember the game Jeff's talking about, the second leg of PAC. I remember seeing you and Jimmy after the game. In my mind, I didn't realize that Jimmy hadn't played for Colts yet. I thought you guys had played together that night, but somehow I missed it.
That's right.
Yeah.
So Jimmy, like I said, he didn't quite make it at Norville. After juniors, he never really made it to the first team, right? And I kept telling him, bro, you're basically your talent, man. Come play for Colts. Come play. And he hummed and I can't do that. I can't do that. And then that was the turning point right there.
What year was that, Jeffrey, when you guys won the Dudley?
Oh boy, it had to be
78.
78.
79.
That's nice. Okay.
Correct. Yep. Yeah.
So Dennis, let me ask you, what was your first recollection or first encounter with Jimmy?
I went through football. I always found him to be an hilarious person.
That is true.
Talk a lot of crap during the game,
Sure.
and talk more crap after the game. Because in those days, like after games, like it was like a lot of house parties, and oh my
Yes.
goodness, oh my
Yes.
goodness. And
Shelly, you're laughing.
so that's the only thing I'm gonna say. It was a lot of house parties. That's it. But even like at Somerset, we used to have like food after games, like for both teams. So you know what I mean. So both teams talk after the game. You know, it's not like today you kick somebody and somebody wants to fight you after the game. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, you know, our games are very hotly contested, but at the end of the day, we shook hands, go upstairs, you know, have a couple of glasses of water, have some food, and communicate. You know what I mean? Because seems like all the guys who played back in those days are like get along. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't like, you know, you can't go this place, you can't go that place. You know what I mean? We kicked the crap out of each other, but at the end of the game, we just been, you know what I mean? Everybody was cool.
So Dennis, do you remember when Somerset shut down the field to renovate the field?
Can't really remember.
Okay, so Somerset shut down the field, I think maybe for 1 year, and they resurfaced the football pitch and everything.
Okay.
And your opening match was against Average Coast.
Okay.
And we beat you 2-0 in your backyard. We actually made the lawn for you. We made the lawn for you that day.
I played?
I'm asking you, did you?
I can't remember that.
It was a loss. It was a loss, Jeff. You can remember that?
Oh my goodness. I can't remember that. Yeah, we had our battles, man. We had our battles against Coach. It was now a blowout. Now a blowout, like with anybody. You beat me 2-0 or 1-0, or we beat you 1-0 or 2-0. It wasn't a real blowout, you know, against Average Coast. Yeah.
And you know, like I have to admit that Jimmy was the guy. And like when Shannon was first coming into the team, I recall like going to his house and picking him up, taking him to the match and all that sort of stuff. And it was always, Jimmy, look, you pick me up, then we go pick up Shannon. And then on occasion, maybe JB and Ray Jones with us and stuff. So that was the young crew at the time. And unfortunately, I didn't get to spend much time with these guys because I got my ankle broken when I was like 23, 24. Mm-hmm. And I was out of the game for about a year. And then I was never the player. I could never be the player I used to be. So I started taking cricket seriously. And so I started to fade away from the football side of things. I mean, I was still going to watch matches and stuff. But Jimmy was always, Jeff, you got to come watch the game. And you got to come. Because Shannon, Ray Jones, and JB and Keyshawn, all these young guys were coming through Daventry Coast at the time. And it was one of the most enjoyable times being at Daventry Coast because when I came through, it was Albert Derlin, Marcus Douglas, Alsef Lambert, Gary Darrell. You know, these guys took the game seriously. And I can recall, like, this ain't no fun. These guys take the game so serious, man. And then when they transitioned out and I became like a senior, and Shannon would tell you the fun we guys had playing for Daventry Coast, man. Mm-hmm. Hey, I can guarantee you no other team on the planet could have had as much fun as we guys had.
Yeah, I think
I was laughing, but he like, am I lying, Shannon?
I think teams used to come look for us after games because they knew that's where the fun was.
Absolutely.
Anytime you played in a friendship match on a Tuesday night, for instance, and after the match, wherever we ended up, players who didn't even play that night would be out because they know Daventry Coast is going to be somewhere. I know when I first moved here, I was 17, right? So my mom always wondered why you had a 9 o'clock football game and you get home at 1 night in the morning. Tweed actually had to always cover for me there, but good fun with gentlemen that really love the camaraderie and not just the camaraderie with Colts players, but with village players, with Somerset players. My best friend at the time, Carl Roberts, played for Somerset with Dennis, right? And that's some of the things that are missing in today's game.
What I remember playing for Coach, there was always a party after the game. There was always something going on at somebody's house.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, unreal,
Yeah.
unreal, man, unreal. So, go ahead, Earl.
No, I was going to bring Stan back in.
Okay.
Stan, you heard these guys reminisce a bit. What's your take on it?
It's muted again. Okay.
Yeah, because I'm muted.
Go ahead, Sam.
I'm good now, guys. I'm good. I'm happy to be hearing all of this, and as it connects. These guys actually followed in the tradition of what Colts used to do as a family. I remember speaking to Albert Durling today, who I invited him to watch this. I spoke to Donald Dane today, and I've been speaking to a lot of the 70s players because I want to actually try to re-involve them and connect them and actually tape record them. Hopefully this will also be a catalyst to doing that, because we need to be able to preserve, in their words, just what we're doing today. Guys, I'm very happy to be a part of this particular broadcast in that particular way. It's important. But Royden, you're absolutely correct. You called it a party, but it was a social element that was involved in that. Remember, we were Howard Academy people. We were education-based. We recognized that we did not do what a lot of the workmen's clubs did because we were not a workmen's club foundation. That people ask us, why you've been so long, you've been around 58, where's your club, this, that, and the other. We chose not to actively be a part of the workman club model because we were about educating young students to become better citizens for Bermuda. And that's the reason why we continue to do what we do. That's the reason why, in a lot of cases, we don't have the 13 and 14 championships that a PHC has, because our teams broke up and went away to school and came back. In a lot of instances, a lot of people don't know that the Devonshire Colts, when you look at the logo, it says Devonshire Colts Bermuda. Devonshire Colts Bermuda was created by that team back in the 60s as an enterprise organization. We are registered with the BFA as a football club, but there was a bigger vision. Those guys were about trying to create an organization that was an enterprise that had a number of different types of facilities, football being one of them, but that wasn't the be all and end all of the vision of the Devonshire Colts coming out of Howard Academy. Because football and education were married together to actually progress young minds to actually become leaders in this particular community called Bermuda.
I would like to
And
say
back
that
to you guys.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Let's talk about Jimmy as a footballer. This guy was tenacious.
I was going to ask you that question, right?
Yeah.
He was no nonsense, and he didn't shy away from a tackle from anyone. And he let me know, as a striker, because I was taking licks up front, that don't worry, bro. I'll take care of you. I'll handle it on this end. To the point where, so if you ask Ray Jones, right, Jimmy broke Ray Jones's ankle in training, broke his leg in training, and it wasn't malicious or anything like that. But this guy trained the way he played, and if you came training and you came up short, you got injured. You had to be on your game in training when you was getting up to Jimmy, because there were times if Dick Dan and the other coaches were the strikers to go against the defenders, and if you thought it was like, okay, I'm just going to ease through this, no, not with Jimmy. That may have happened on the other side. Well, not quite the other side, because at the time my brother Spike was playing left back, and he was just as fair. But Jimmy was no nonsense, man. This guy went into tackles like his life depended on it.
Yeah.
And from a defensive perspective, his job was usually easy because guys were afraid to go and deal with him. Guys would go on the other side of the field, especially if a team was playing 4-3-3. That striker man or the winger will go on the other side to stay away from Jimmy. And
Who
it
did
didn't
Jimmy
matter-
replace,
Yeah.
Jeff?
What's that?
Who did Jimmy replace? Who did he
Jimmy
take
would have
the
come
place of?
probably out for Froggy Simmons
Damon Simmons.
after Damon Simmons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Jeff, I really think I got it from just watching them as a fullback because I was a center back as a junior player, but I obviously wasn't going to break in the team at center back with Lorenzo and the guys that we had. And I remember Germano broke into the team before
Yes.
he's older than me, and that's when Jimmy moved from right back to left back because he was more experienced. And when Germano got injured, I ended up coming in at right back. And so I had to be as tenacious as he, because that's what I saw every week, right? He was actually to a fault because I don't know if you recall the game, he decided it was a good idea to run into a goalkeeper. And he broke his ribs against Stricker at Frog Lane one year.
Yes.
Because obviously Stricker wasn't going to stop as a goalkeeper. But yeah, that tenacity as a fullback is something I grew up watching and appreciating.
Yeah.
I was the same way, Shannon, because
Glad you brought that up, Shannon.
when I first came into the team, Somers's team, my first game was against Hotels, and we all know how physical Hotels was. And somebody must have tackled me, and Lance Brown came up in my face and told me some words that I can't speak on air. If you don't bleep, 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 kick that guy when he comes back down, or I'm bleep, bleep, kicking you. Right, so I was
Only while you was looking down at him.
I respected. Well, he was my cousin too. I respected him. Right, so that 16 coming in first team, you don't back answer, guys.
No,
You just do as you're told. You know what I mean? And so my question to you guys is, I always felt that Jimmy was a very steady right back, and he was like underrated. Like he was, but at that time we had a lot of defenders at that time playing for the national team. But what made Jimmy so reliable playing for Coach? Because seemed like he was always there, very rarely injured. What made Jimmy very reliable playing for Devonshire Colts? You guys can answer that.
He backed up everything he said.
So I thought Jimmy could also protect the ball. You couldn't get the ball off of Jimmy.
That's good.
I thought he shielded the ball quite well whenever he had it. He wasn't a player that you can go and just knock him off the ball, and he wouldn't just kick the ball, give it up. He would shield the ball very well. That's one thing I remember about Jimmy.
And he had good vision. Jimmy had good vision from the right back side. And what made Jimmy so reliable was the fact that he only played football. He enjoyed playing football. Like a lot of, I was a two-sport guy, so I would shift to cricket during the summer, and then I would venture to football training when my cricket finished. So I always got to train late. And as Dick Dan always said, I was a couple of pounds overweight because you're playing cricket and you're lazy and all that stuff. But Jimmy was strictly football, right? So he only had to worry about football. But he wasn't that guy who would go juggle the ball 300, 400 times and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
But he tackled well, he passed well, he didn't give up the ball, he shielded the ball well, and he was just a solid defender that you could depend on. Because sometimes you have a defender that every now and then the guys from the center have to go over and cover. You didn't have to worry about that with Jimmy.
Yeah.
And in the air, oh man, like if he was defending corners, man, this guy ran at the ball like a madman. And when he headed the ball away from a corner, it almost went to the halfway line. The guy steady footballer.
Yeah, you gotta go also just on that point. You gotta also give credit to the guys he played with, right? because Jimmy, yes, liked to protect the ball, liked to handle the ball, but he always, with that team, always had an option, right? Because Royden didn't stop running. If you knew Royden, he just doesn't stop running. So Jimmy will always have an option, whether it be Royden in the midfield or Alonso dropping off to give him support from the back, right? So he knew that he could play with that confidence.
Absolutely. Yeah. And in fact, Shannon, you mentioned he moved to left back, which showed his versatility. And he moved to left back to give way to the younger player, who was just a solid right back in Germano. And most of you guys don't know that Roddy Nisbet played right back for Colts at one time.
Yeah, I remember Roddy.
Yeah. He didn't play more. And Dick Dan sent me to Roddy to let him know he was playing on the weekend.
Yeah,
and this guy, he didn't. Jeff, you're not serious. I said, yeah, bro, you're playing this weekend. So at the time, we were in between the transition from like a Damon Simmons into somebody who was solid at the right back level. And I think Roddy might have played before Jimmy, or Jimmy may have been injured somewhere along the line where Roddy needs to play right back for Denver Colts.
Okay, so everybody can answer this question. How was Jimmy to young players that came into the team?
Jeffrey, did
How was he to young players or new players to come into the team? Young or new players that come into the team?
You can start, Stan.
Dennis and Jeffrey, I was just wondering whether or not you mentioned Lauren Balbota, because when Lauren went in, Jimmy knew that he was going to definitely be on the left-hand side. The other thing is that he also helped me frame the types of things that I try to tell players today, which is, as we know, you need to be able to, as we always hear, pass the ball. But if there's a pass, there's a receiving player. The next thing after that, the player needs, after receives the ball, he has to learn to protect it so that it doesn't get turned over, so that he can do what he needs to do to progress the type of ball movement, man movement that was designed for that particular area of the field. So Jimmy, for me, was one that actually knew those cadences and those sequences, and he demonstrated them and he advocated them a lot. And I'm still doing that still today with the younger ones, so they understand that those are the phases of progression that they must be able to execute with a high degree of efficiency and effectiveness to help their teammates get this ball to where we ultimately want to put it, in the back of the net. So I really appreciated that particular lesson from him.
Shannon?
Yeah, and I guess on Dennis's point about him supporting new guys coming into the team, I probably am a testimony, right? Because I came into the team, as I said earlier, playing in his position. So the advice never stopped. The feedback never stopped. The support, never stopped. And so I think that he made it much more comfortable for the youngsters that came through, because he was always supportive. Even to the point where I scored my first senior goal at some of the cricket club. It was a friendship match against Boulevard. And after the game, he says, "Well done, you're off the mark. Now we need to work on your celebration." So always, some form of critique to say, yeah, something better.
Royden?
I believe it was like a father figure to those guys, Shannon and Ray Jones and those guys, and he looked out for them. And I can guarantee you, nobody would get away with kicking any one of those guys up if Jimmy's on the field.
Yeah.
So Jeff, I heard you say earlier, right? His defending style was like no nonsense. So just explain to somebody who never saw him play, what was his defending style like to somebody who never saw, to anybody who's young, who never got to see Jimmy play back in those days? Let them know the type of defender Jimmy was.
You're mute. Just got to unmute, Jeff.
Jeff, you're muted.
sorry. What I will say is that the football that I've watched since then, I really can't identify a single player at that position that was as tenacious as Jimmy was. I mean, a lot of the tackles that Jimmy used to make back in the day will probably be red carded today.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
seriously.
Yeah.
And this was something that he did naturally and regularly. You know, Jimmy would leave his feet 10, 15 yards away and somehow get the ball. And not and get up with it scrambled between his feet and look up and make a pass.
Yes.
And it is the striker be looking around like how he's looking at the referee like that's not a foul. Because he wouldn't get the player, he would actually get the ball. And I'll be up front and saying, how you get away with that? No, I mean the guy was just
Tenacious, like you said.
tenacious.
Tenacious.
And you know, some people and some defenders had a nemesis. There was always one guy that you just had problems with. I never saw that with Jimmy. Never. I cannot mention a player that gave him problems. He always found a way. And he was smart, like as a striker, as a defender, if y'all pull me, I knew where you are. Jim will touch you on the shoulder and back off. Then it's balls coming, you're looking around, you're looking for him. And once you're doing that, you're not concentrating on the ball anymore, and then Jim is in going with the ball. And you don't even know where he came from. It's little things that you try to teach defenders today that he just did naturally. Because he was smart enough to know that I'm gonna tap you in the shoulder so you think I'm here, then back off. And I mean,
that's definitely something he taught me. I definitely remember.
Yeah, you remember that, Shannon. I mean, this is not something that he learned in training. This is something that this guy just brought to his game. It was amazing, man. It was amazing. I used to be up front just looking sometimes and just smiling, And hey, the guy was a brilliant footballer, and he was happy. He never strived to be a national team player. He was happy playing right back at Devonshire Colts.
I'd like to chime in and correct you on one point though. His legacy actually did get passed on. There's a gentleman by the name of Sanjay Burgess, who plays just like that when he plays fullback, and that's my son. So that was clearly passed on through me. Where Sanjay as a fullback is that person. He's going to make the tackle, and sometimes a little over the edge. So got to stay on the field for us. But that's probably the only defender that I see with that type of drive to say, not only am I going to get the ball, but I'm going to tackle you in a way where you're not coming back.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I could agree with that. I remember having Senche.
I agree too.
In my under 17 national team, the team that we took on to St. Vincent and actually won that run. And Senche, to me, and every time I see him now, I tell him it's time to get into the national team because he's a pure defender, but he also can play.
Yes.
Right, with the ball at his feet. He's a pure defender. Not too many people get around him. And once he wins possession, he can play. You know what I mean? So hopefully, he'll get a good invite. I know he had a couple of injuries for a couple of years, but hopefully, with Devonshire Colts where they are, he gets more recognition and invited to the national team because I think he's good enough. I think it's better than his daddy too, to tell you the truth.
I won more trophies than him, so.
Isn't that the way it should be?
Well, that's true.
Yes, it should.
Right?
A big question. A big question for all you guys. Leading up to that friendship final So I believe you guys beat Boulevard in the final?
Friendship with the FA, which
Friendship. Friendship and Jimmy
Friendship final.
played.
Boulevard beat Colts 3-2.
But what's that picture, guys sitting in when Vance Campbell, Porky Manders, all those guys playing for Colts?
Oh, that's earlier before my time. Yeah.
Right. So that was Friendship, right?
I know they won the friendship. They won the first two in the friendship, though, wasn't it?
So that had to be like in the 80s, like early 80s. So I remember them playing a friendship final. I think they won 2-0 against somebody. I'm pretty sure it was Boulevard. I know it wasn't Cougars. I'm pretty sure it was Boulevard in the final in the early 80s, like 82, 83, something like that.
I think
I
I
don't
played
think
the
it's
match.
Boulevard.
Jeff, you were in that picture.
I was. And Spike was in that. Spike was in that
Spike was
picture
in the
as well.
picture. Porky,
And-
Charlie, my cousin Charlie Brown,
Marvin Campbell scored that
Marvin
game.
Campbell,
And
Marvin
Joe
Campbell.
Smith. And Joe Smith scored.
Okay.
So in 80-81, they beat Devonshire Cougars 2-1.
Yeah. Well,
That was 88?
80-81.
Yeah, 80.
81. Okay,
Yes,
yeah.
that sounds
That
about
had to
right.
be the year
Yeah,
right
it wasn't
there. That had to be the year. Right,
It was
okay.
Cougars and Vance Campbell and Joe Smith scored that game.
Okay.
And I think
So
that was
how-
one of the last matches I played.
So how did you guys prepare? I know how we guys prepare for big games. How did you guys prepare for big games? Like, Stan, in your role, how did you prepare? And the players, how did you prepare for big games back in the day?
So
Well, for me, being the manager of the team, and I say the manager of the team, not in that era, but I took the experience of that when Kenny Thompson called me to the national team. I had a plan, and the plan was primarily to talk to the players mentally about being successful, trying to actually get them to visualize how they have been training, just like we are trying to do now. You must train the way you want to perform. And I have an issue sometimes using the word play, because play goes back to kindergarten. I prefer to use the word perform, because you are performing on that stage called that football field. So those are the two main things: understanding what you were going to do in your performance, and did you prepare for this performance, and do you see yourself being successful no matter where you are on the field, what position. You have to be thinking about, I'm going to be successful doing the things that are required for my team to be ultimately successful. Those were the three things that I would use to prepare teams. Back to you.
I remember when I went to Colts, and Donald Dan said something that I, just never heard before. It was simple, but it was true. Donald Dan said, "We are entertainers." He said, "People pay to watch you play." He said, "You need to be at your best every time you play." Never heard that before. And people do pay to watch us play.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Jeff, how you used to prepare?
So what I would say is that when you went to training session with Donald Dean, every training session was a preparation to win, whether it was a final, whether it was a weekend match, or whatever. When it came to a final, we knew who we were playing against, so we would pick out certain players. Like if I was playing on the right side, I played the left or right side, or occasionally the midfield. But he would have like I would have to go up against Jimmy in training, because I'm playing against Andrew Caldwell on the weekend. I'm playing against Andrew Caldwell on a cup match, and Jimmy would act the role like Andrew Caldwell. Mind you, he's the guy who broke my ankle, but it was always like scenario based. This is who you're going up against, and so forth. But he somehow incorporated fitness into it. We were always one of the fittest teams on the planet. Always. I can recall one year, got into the team at a young age, went to my head a little bit, didn't go training for a week. And we were playing Somerset at Somerset. And Dick Dane was the first coach to introduce shin pads to Bermuda before it became mandatory. I'll never forget it.
Wow.
I hadn't trained the entire week, and I said, okay, I'll show up to the game. I know I'm going to be on the bench. And Dick Dane put me in the starting 11 at Somerset. And I recall like 20 minutes to the match, I'm panting because I was out the night before having a good time. And I was on the eastern side of some cricket club going towards the garden. And I ran over to the other side where the benches were, and I threw my shin pads to the side. And I ran back over to the right wing. And Dick Dane called me over. Jeff, come over here. And he took my shin pads and threw them back at me. Put their shin pads on now. I'm taking you off. So look at Mr. Dane. So remember how I used to tell you, I used to go up and jump for corners and stuff. In the second half, the corners at the southern end where the bleachers are. And I went up for a header and came down and got cramp in both legs. He will not let the physio come on the field. I literally dragged myself onto the side, and the physio had to walk all around the other side of the field to tend to me. And suffice to say, I never missed a training session after that. Never. So Dick Dane was like Royden said, you always had to be your best. And he it's nothing he used to say, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. That was Dick Dane.
Shannon, how did you prepare?
I'll answer in two phases. Personally, since I was always the lead of the team, and this is after Jeff and Royden's time, my first priority is to identify who's nervous, because somebody's going to be nervous. To try and find ways to get guys to channel their nervous energy to create a positive outcome. Everyone gets nervous before a big match. I mean, that's the passion of playing football. I remember once Michael Jordan, late in his career, was being interviewed, and the interviewer asked him, does he still get nervous before matches? And he says, absolutely, I do. I do get those butterflies. And he said, the day that those butterflies disappear, I need to retire because I no longer have a will to win, or I don't have the passion for the match anymore. So knowing that nervous energy was going to exist, especially in big games, I would really look around at my team, because a guy that's always talking that's now quiet needs to have a conversation with me, because we need to find a way to get that nervous energy channeled in the right way. So that was the biggest thing for me before a big match.
Yeah, I was one. I used to get worried the same way as Jordan when I wasn't nervous. Right? I like to be nervous before a game, so that's where most of my concentration came from. And I would never forget a game. We played Colts in another final at Devonshire Friendship Final at Devonshire.
Yes.
We got a penalty in the first minute, and I hadn't even touched the ball yet. And the penalty almost went out for a 3. I missed. I missed. I don't know.
You took the penalty.
Huh?
You took the penalty.
Yeah, I was the penalty taker, but I don't know what happened that night. You know what I mean? We ended up winning the game, but I don't remember being nervous going into that game. You know what I mean? Full concentration and stuff like that. But I always like to be nervous, prior to a game, because I knew, I'll have a good game.
I think I played that game.
That's the
Yeah,
game.
you were there.
Jay Simon scored the goal.
Jay Simons, yeah.
It was a
the
late
last
goal, too.
few moments.
Yeah.
Last few moments of the game. I remember that game.
Yeah.
And I was marking Jay, so I felt really bad. I was talking back to him all game.
Jay was a good striker. Jay was a very good striker.
Very good striker.
Very good striker. So what was Jimmy like? Well, when did he finish playing? Like what in the early 90s, or Was he a part of that championship team you had, Shannon? No.
No, he wasn't, because I would have left for university in 90 or 91, and he was still playing. And when I returned 4 years later, he was not playing anymore.
Okay.
When I came back, and that's when I took over the captaincy in, I think, 1994, 1995. He was a part of the coaching staff.
Okay.
Yeah, he would have been in his mid mid-30s, mid to late 30s around that time.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So he finished early 90s or whatever. So what was Jimmy like? And I know everybody's got the Jimmy stories. What was Jimmy like away from football?
Jeff, your last.
I was just the Jeff first, but then again, if Jeff said
Jeff's last.
Every time Jimmy saw me, man, he would be beeping his horn, his hands out of the car window, slacker. Every time. It wasn't like a time that either I would beep to him or he would beep to me. And if he stops, if you're in a place where you're not in your car, he'll come up and hug you. That's the way Jimmy was. I'm excited to see you.
So what I would say is, like, I think
Jeff, your last. Shannon.
I am just picturing him as Royden speaking. I mean, I was thinking about it earlier today, and whether he's on the bus or in the car, he knew my car. So from miles away, he's already got his hand out to you, flicking the lights.
I can't hear anything. I can't hear anything.
And if you do see him, he's always happy-go-lucky. Always wants to have a laugh, but also wants to take time to get to know how you're doing and maybe give you some advice. So he was a genuine person that cared for everyone, but particularly the people that he loved. And he always would say, "I love you, man." He wasn't scared to say that.
It was Jimmy.
Jeff.
Okay. So I think one of Jimmy's proudest moments was when his grandson came to play for Damshire Colts as a youngster, and he got the opportunity to coach him at Damshire Colts. The fact that he came and played football for Damshire Colts, Jimmy was so proud, so proud. But outside of that, when Jimmy stopped playing, he never wavered from Damshire Colts. He never missed a match. I heard he would go to training sessions and sit off and watch him train. And here's a funny story, right? I transitioned cricket to a point where once I became a member of the national team, I couldn't play football. So my Damshire Colts career was cut short. I mean, with the ankle injury, I wasn't the football I used to be. So I started looking at cricket seriously. And being part of the national team, we had Red Stripe, we had the ICC Trophy, and you were banned from playing football. So Jimmy Tweed never saw me make more than 10 runs in my entire career. And if you guys know, I made some pretty, I handled myself. I scored a few hundreds here and there. And the reason is because we used to be out the night before.
Oh, wow.
That is that because he knows what I'm talking about. We used to be out the night before, and I was playing cricket. He was still asleep. My high school cup match was 85 in Somerset, one of my proudest moments, and I had a spot on the field in cup match. Jimmy saw my first 10 runs, and he didn't see the rest. And this is something I held against him to the day he died. Like, bro, I mean, I was one of the most prominent batsmen in the island. I had the batsman Colt record at 186. He saw 10 runs. He never saw me make more than 10 runs. So, but he always, Jeff, hey man, you gotta come watch Colts play. They got this new guy, they got this guy, and I feel a bit bad because I just didn't find the time to go watch Colts play. I was a bit disappointed at the quality of football and the direction it was going. and I got into golf. And but Jimmy was a genuine, loyal individual, and he tried to save the world. And I always used to say to James, "Look, man, you can't save everybody." And he used to say, "Jeff, I can try. And if I just save one, so be it." The guy loved everybody. He had nothing bad to say about anyone. And I'm gonna miss the guy because he is one of the most loyal Devonshire Coast people I've ever known. And I came up through Dick Dane, Gary Darrell, Marcus Douglas, Albert Derlin, and Jimmy has probably been the most loyal Devonshire Coast person I've known to date. And understanding he came from North Village. That's what blows my mind. North Village and Devonshire Coast were arch rivals for years. And this guy left North Village and came to Devonshire Coast, and he's probably the biggest and most loyal fan of Devonshire Coast that they've ever had.
I would say I hadn't talked to Jimmy since I was driving minibus like during the summer. Then on December 10th, I still have his call and his notes on my phone. He actually called me and say in his raspy voice, "Hey, Brian, what happened to that show you and Earl used to do? Why you guys ain't got that show no more?" And after that, I actually called Earl and told Earl about Jimmy, about the show and stuff like that. And then, so Earl said, "Yeah, we'll look at it, into the new year." And that was, and then 10 days later, December 20th, he was gone.
Yeah.
I can't hear a thing.
Are you can't hear, Roy?
Yeah, I'm trying to get him to log off and come back on.
Okay. But that was, to me, that was crazy. Like he was a guy, like you said, like every time he saw me, he had to give me a hug, like unbelievable. But that's the type of guy that he was, man. Respected everybody, loved everybody. You know what I mean? And I only have, good memories of Jimmy from way back when.
And then when we guys were playing football, we were friends. Like I said, we were friends off the field.
Yeah, for real.
And we were friends not because we grew up in the same neighborhoods. It's because we all love football.
Yeah.
And our personalities back then was to be friendly, and we had friendly rivalries from high school. Sands versus Barkley versus Worksec. We had that rivalry coming out of high school. And then when you went to play for your local clubs, it carried on. But after football, oh man, anyway.
Hey, part is on.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So, big question. What do you think Jimmy meant to Devonshire Coast? Because I think Jeff answered that a little bit. What do you think Jimmy meant to Devonshire Coast, and what do you think Devonshire Coast meant to Jimmy?
So, I'll start with that one. And I'll just start with the pictures that were taken at the graveyard. The generation span of the gentleman that showed up for that funeral showed that he had an impact on the current team, right up to people who coached him. We took a picture that I put on Facebook. You might have seen Dennis, and in that picture was Gary Darrell, all the way down to the current team. It showed that firstly his love and appreciation for Devonshire Coast was felt, but the love and appreciation that the members of Devonshire Coast have for him was equal. So if I had to summarize it, that's how I would put it.
Roy went off again.
Yeah.
Jeff, what do you think Jimmy meant to Coach?
Just having trouble. So go ahead.
What do you think Coach meant to Jimmy, and vice versa?
I didn't get to run the team much during my cricketing, my cricketing time, but I always knew what was going on. Jimmy was always involved. He was always connected. He was going to training sessions, and there were times when I would see Jimmy and the youngsters that were playing currently. They knew who he was. They knew Jimmy, and they knew the history of Jimmy. And like Shannon said, when you saw these guys show up the grave, they recognized and they understood and they appreciated who this guy was and what he meant to Devonshire Coates. Jimmy is going to go down as a Devonshire Coates legend, and hey, it saddens me that we've lost. We, meaning Devonshire Coates, as a family, as a team, has lost probably the best supporter and the best and the most loyal person that Devonshire Coates has seen in a long, long, long time. He never wavered from Devonshire Coates. And I did. I mean, cricket took me in a different direction. Jimmy, into the day, to the time he joined Devonshire Coates to the time he died, was Devonshire Coates through and through. Through and through. Yeah. Until the day he died. You know? And he used to call me, Jeff, come watch him play, man. Come watch him play. And I'm sitting here, and I'm sitting there saddened by the fact that I didn't take him up on it, and I will never get that opportunity. And I'm thinking, like, it would have been so much fun to be sitting on the sideline with Jimmy, watching the games going on. I mean, I recall Coates was playing in Somerset one year, and Jimmy rallied Lorenzo Simons, myself, Stevie Dickinson. It was about 7 or 8 of us to come to Somerset Cricket Club to play. And I had no excuse because I live right across from the field, right? And it was one of the best times I've had post-Devonshire Coates and being around the Coates guys. And I'm going to miss this guy immensely.
Okay, Roy, what do you think Jimmy meant to Devonshire Coates and vice versa? His back?
Yeah,
Roy,
back now, yeah.
Yeah, what do you think he meant to Coates and what Coates meant to him?
His back.
Okay.
Yeah, everything. The last time I spoke to him, he was telling me, you know, how good Coates are doing. You know, Ray Jones coaching the team. And like Jeff said, he was inviting me to come out and watch him. I'm guaranteed, you know, he was just die-hard Devonshire Coates. Die-hard Devonshire Coates. Through and through, 100%. 100%.
Question. What is one lesson that each of you personally learned from Jimmy? One lesson that each of you learned from Jimmy?
One.
I would say he gave his all for Devonshire Coates. He gave his all. Give everything for the cause, for playing for the team, for playing for the Orange and Black, the Halloween boys. Jimmy gave his heart, man. Everything. He would lay his body on the line, playing football, stopping a goal going in. Everything. He gave everything.
Shannon?
I learned. Okay, go ahead, Shannon.
Yeah, for me, I think Stan touched on it earlier. The most profound message would be hard work and preparation, you know, could lead to accomplish anything. And that's not just on the football field, it's just in life in general. And that's a message he continued to give to me as a youngster growing up with the team, but also as I was about to leave for university. He would not have hidden how proud he was of me when I ran away on a football scholarship. And that resounded the message, you know, if hard work and preparation, you can accomplish anything, would be it for me.
Yeah.
The lessons I learned from Jimmy was a life lesson, and that lesson was never judge anyone. Always look for the good in people because you don't know their story.
Mm.
And then that was beyond football. And I at his funeral, I mentioned how he always tried to save people. And Jimmy never judged anyone. Jimmy always looked for the best in everyone. And I felt bad a lot of times when I questioned him about that. And he will put me in my places. Jeff, you don't know the story, man. So just treat people with just be understand that we all have our challenges in life and we all have our battles, and just be on just love everyone and see the best in them. And that's what I take away from Jimmy was he always saw the best in everyone. And to a fold. And he was always I no one saw Jimmy in public sad. He was always jovial.
Yeah.
He was always boisterous. He was always like he would scream out to you. He would come running. He would if he drove past you, he would turn around and come back to you. And yes, that's a life lesson I learned from James is that
Life
everybody
of
has
the
everybody has a story, and treat people with respect. And yeah, that's what I learned from James, and I'll carry that to my grave.
Okay, Earl, my last question is I'm happy to see Colts where they are. My Brazilian school has a history with Devonshire Colts players. So the guys I used to have at my Brazilian school are now leading the league. Like they have matured. And I always say that these guys are together when they mature, they're gonna cause a lot of madness. Right? So the same Sanchez, Mateo, Shamo, Clay, Reserve. All these guys came through Brazilian like when they were 8, 9, 10, 11. But now they are maturing. And what each of you can answer this question, and when each of you answer this question, Colts are in a very good position, second place, 2 points behind, with 2 games in hand.
Wow.
What words of advice would each of you give these guys going into the rough part of the season? This is the part of the season here that's gonna make or break anybody, any team. So what advice would you give? And it's a good little young team. It's not a little team. What advice would you give these guys going into the last 5 games of the season to be league champions, because it's their front to win?
Yeah, I mean, I can start for several reasons. I watched these guys from the age of 5. These guys played together, and my son is one of them, from the age of 5. And at that time, they were a dominant team.
Right.
At that 5-year-old level, many of them went abroad, but to see them back playing together as friends warms my heart, to be honest.
Yeah.
The advice I would give them is to take one game at a time. Obviously, don't become complacent, but retain that desire to win. Some of the matches they've won, they didn't play as well as they could, but have found a way to grind it out and win. So having that passion when the chips are down will be important, because there will be no easy game from here on in. Obviously, I'm going to dash as soon as I possibly can because they play tonight.
Who's that? Pageant?
They play against St. George's, the makeup
No,
game.
they play
at
St. George's.
PhD.
Oh, okay.
So Dennytown are playing Pageant right now. The last shot, it was
Dennytown's
2-0
up
to
2-0.
Dennytown
Yeah.
at halftime. And then Coates and St. George's play after that. But looking at the matches that they have and Dennytown have, and even Village and PhD coming down the line, they need to stay focused and take one game at a time, and play with the confidence that they've been playing with all season.
Okay. Roy?
Well, I was gonna say what Shannon just said, stay focused and take one game at a time. That was the thought in my head just now.
Okay. Jeff?
Yeah, I mean, I've been following closely. I always do. What I will say is that they've been winning matches quite handsomely leading up to where they are now, and I see him grinding out 1-0 wins here lately, which shows some resilience in the team. And I don't believe in that. Okay, we're going to be playing for somebody, because sometimes the season starts and someone like Jimmy passes and says, "Oh, we're going to dedicate the season to Jimmy." What I will say is that they could use that as some sort of boost towards the end of the season, because they're playing some good football and they're fighting hard, and like Shannon said, just stick to it. Don't try anything extravagant, and just do what you got to do to win it.
Yeah, because they're still in the FA semifinal.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So this could be a very special year if they remain focused.
And the thing is that, and Shannon remember, because my son played football for Coates, and he grew up. He was playing with Shannon's son and all his youngsters, and he decided to take the cricket path. And just for he bought a pair of boots the other day. So, and he's back in training now. So Coates may be getting an additional player come next season.
He's on stay there, I guess. They're not stretch.
But yeah, I mean, and he's lived his entire life in Somerset, but he knows he has to go play for Devonshire Coates. Yes.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised over the time. I'm sorry to break this up a bit. That Dennis has commented on my flags in the background.
No, I'm saying,
and I'm going to make this stay right up front. We are the lead sponsor of Cup Match, and here on the executive floor we have banter around Cup Match.
I know your Somerset Cup
my
Match.
HSBC Cup Match flags.
I know your Somerset Cup Match. I know that for a fact.
And so the only time we're red is Thursday of Cup Match and Friday of Cup Match.
I know that for a fact.
Well, guys, I'll let you each have a parting word of your lasting memory of Jimmy Tweed. Dennis, I'll actually start with you, and then I'll go to Shannon, Roy, and Jeff.
I always considered Jimmy a friend. Like Jeff said, back in the day, everybody was friends. From those teams, everybody were friends. Everybody got along. But I always remember Jimmy as a happy-go-lucky fella, liked to have a good time. You know what I mean? I always remember the parties and stuff like that. But on the field, he was no nonsense. He were no ace boys on the field. It was no nonsense. He'll kick me, and I'll kick him. But at the end of the day, after the game, we embraced and it was all. I would say it was all respect. Like, I always respected Jimmy. Always respected what he brought to the table. And appreciated the person that he was, because I think he was a genuinely good person. We all have our ups and downs in life. But Jimmy was a special person to a lot of people. And he will be greatly missed by many, by everybody. You know what I mean? So I want Coates to go ahead and win this league and possibly FA Cup in memory of Jimmy Tweed. And if they do that, Shannon and I will be at Police Club having a glass of water. And Jeff.
Shannon?
And Jeff.
Like Jeff.
Absolutely.
I know my cousin don't drink. I don't think he
Yeah.
drinks, but
Yep.
Shannon and Jeff.
He drinks water.
Yeah, he drinks water. He can come around too.
Shannon?
Yeah, I mean, Dennis actually took my first word that came to my mind. If Happy was so lucky was a person, it's Jimmy T. He was always a person who was the life of the party, whether we were having a lunch or dinner, having a conversation after the game. He's just so boisterous and full of life. But when it came time to get the job done, he rolls up his sleeves and ensures that he sees the task out until the very end, whether it's on the football field or off the football field. So very dedicated, committed person that as most have said, we will miss dearly.
Yeah. Rodney?
Okay. I would say that Jimmy had a lot of love in his heart. For each one of us talking here right now, and for Devonshire Coates, without a doubt, but Jimmy had a love for people, period. And it'll be a fitting tribute if Coates do win the league and the FA Cup if they could, but to win the league, to me, it will be a fitting tribute to the memory of Jimmy Tweed.
Jeff?
I think it's time to mention that outside of football, Jimmy became an ambassador for Bermuda.
Yeah.
When he was driving bus, whether he was driving
Yes.
minibus, this guy was an ambassador for the country. I recall a time a couple came to Bermuda and he sought out Slugger and took him to Slugger's home to meet Slugger and stuff. This guy loved his country.
Yes.
Not only did he love Devonshire Coast, he loved his country. And he showed that when he drove the bus. I mean, I can say it now. I recall seeing Jimmy had the bus on Harbor Road one day because he wanted to show, he was doing a tour and he wanted to show people how it looked from the Harbor Road side. And that was Jimmy. Ambassador for the country. He was an ambassador for Devonshire Coast. He loved his family. He loved his daughter. He loved his grandchildren. He loved all his friends. And Jimmy showed no one any animosity that I'm aware of. And I've learned and I've grown with Jimmy over the years, and he's taught me a lot. And I'm going to miss him dearly. But we were blessed to have him in our lives.
Yes.
We were blessed. We were blessed. He was a special, special individual.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. I can't tell you the number of missed calls I had that day. He was looking for Slugger because he knows Slugger and I are best friends. And I'm like, when I finally got to my phone, I think I was in a meeting. I was like, why is Jimmy blowing up my phone? But by the time he had found Slugger, I remember that.
Yeah.
I want to thank each and every one of you. To all Jimmy's family and friends, we want to say, our condolences and all. And one thing about Jimmy, like you said, he always was that man of his word, and he never gave you anything that you didn't want to hear. And we want to say to you all, thank you very much and good night.